Alrighty, happy Monday. We are going to begin learning Chapter 7. The first half of Chapter 7 is all about exponents. Today we're going to learn about Chapter 7.1, well, Section 7.1, which is just talking about two different kinds of exponents. But first, I wanted to show you this screen because PEMDAS is absolutely essential. We are going to be evaluating and we need to use PEMDAS all the time. If you forget to go in the order of PEMDAS, you will get the wrong answer. So ingrain that in your head, write it on your notes, whatever you need to do, PEMDAS is important. So now we are going to look at this first question. What do exponents mean? So for example, if I give you the problem x to the third, what does that mean in math? Well, it means that I have three x's that are multiplied together. So that's the same thing as writing x times x times x. That's what it means when I split it apart. This is essential. You have to know that the power means how many of them are multiplied together. Not added, multiplied, because that allows us to do some special things with exponents. So don't forget that. Now we're going to do a little bit of review. I think that you guys should know the answers to these questions, and if you don't, you can use a calculator or you can use a special root sheet that I am going to hand out to you in class tomorrow. So, give you, say, 30 seconds, and I'm going to tell you the answers to these guys, okay? Alrighty, so that wasn't quite 30 seconds, but we're going to do it anyway. So, 4 squared is the same thing as 4 times 4. The power tells us how many 4s there are. When we multiply them, we get 16. Then 5 to the 4th is the same thing as 5 times 5 times 5, 4 times, 1, 2, 3, 4. And when we multiply that out, or we plug it into our calculator, we are going to get 625. Then we have 8 to the 3rd, which is 8 times 8 times 8, 3 of them because of that power. And we find out that that is the same thing as 512. Now here we have 2 to the 8th power, which is 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That gives me a total of 256. These are things that you should be familiar with. If you're not, you should get real comfortable with them now. We'll keep practicing them, so don't worry terribly much, but they're super important for the first half of Chapter 7. Now let's extend it and make it a little more complex. Remember how I said that PEMDAS was super important? This is where it comes into play. So, PEMDAS, the first thing is parentheses. That means for number 1, I'm going to look at the parentheses first. Then I worry about the outside. So the inside with parentheses, I look, okay, inside. I don't have any more parentheses, we're good. I don't have any exponents, we're good on the E. Now multiplication, don't have any division, don't have any addition. I have addition, so I'm going to do the addition next. So 9 plus 3 gives me 12, plus 4 gives me 16. 16 squared is a big number. It's 16 times 16. You can either plug it into your calculator or you can leave it as 16 squared because I won't expect you to know any that are larger than, any squares that are larger than 10. So let's look at this next one. We have 64 divided by 2 to the 4th power. PEMDAS tells me parentheses. Nope. Then it tells me exponents. I have an exponent, so I'm going to do my exponent first. Then I have 64. Stays the same. Only thing I'm changing is the 2 to the 4th power. 2 to the 4th power is 16. So then, now I do the 64 divided by 16, which gives me positive 4. Next step is to look at the next one. So I start with parentheses. I have 3 plus 7 inside my parentheses, so I do 3 plus 7, which is 10. And now I look at it and I see, oop, I have an exponent, 10 to the third power. 10 to the third power. If it helps you to write it like this without the parentheses, so you see which order you do it in first, go for it. 3 to the 10th power, 10 to the third power, I'm sorry, is also known as 1,000. Then 2 times 1,000 gives me 2,000 as my final answer. Sorry, can't see it there. There you go. Final one, we are going to add up everything in our parentheses to get 4 plus 8 is 12, plus 2 is 14. So 14 squared times 2. 14 squared is going to be 196. Oops, put that 3 in front, can't forget about them. Negative 3 times 196. And we get an answer of negative 588. So this is basically a reminder to remember to use PEMDAS at all times. No excuses. PEMDAS, PEMDAS, PEMDAS. Alrighty, so today's real notes are actually pretty simple. You have 2 things to remember. Any number to the power of 0 is 1. I can write the number 1 in if I see that the whole thing is to the power of 0. So let's look at A. 3 to the 0 power equals 1. Okay, try another one. Negative 3.6 to the 0 power. 1. F to the 0 power. 1. It does not matter. So I basically can look at these and see if the whole thing is to the 0 power, equal to 1. Easy peasy. So I look at this next one, I have a big giant number. Doesn't matter. It's to the 0 power, so it's 1. Now I have this big ugly decimal. Well, I have 2 minus 5 times 2. Still to the 0 power, so it's still 1. Next, I have 12 divided by 2 times 500 to the 0 power. 500 to the 0 power is 1, so don't even worry about it. I actually like to just cross it off because it's kind of like it's not there, because anything times 1 is itself. So all I have is 12 divided by 2, which is 6. Now remember, I can do that because I use PEMDAS. PEMDAS tells me that I work with exponents first. Remember to keep that in the back of your mind. Alrighty, now let's look at the next part. It's really not that bad either. It says that any number to a negative power is saying, move me. That means you move it to the bottom of the fraction. To the other side of the fraction. So that means if my exponent is on the bottom of a fraction, it moves to the top. If it's on the top of a fraction, otherwise known as normal, it moves to the bottom. So let's look at example number A. I have 7 to the negative third. That means I need to make it a fraction and put 7 to the third power on the bottom. Notice how the only thing that changed is my 7 to the third moved to the bottom of my fraction and the negative sign disappeared. Negative sign must disappear. Now, cool thing is, I know what 7 to the third is, so I can simplify this even further. And I get 1 over 343. Remember, if it's under 10, you have to simplify. So make sure you do that. Now let's look at this next one. I have negative 4 to the negative 2. That means I'm going to put it under my fraction. I get 4 squared. Negative 4 squared, sorry. Don't forget about that guy. Now what is negative 4 squared? Oh, I know that one. It's not too bad. I get 1 over 16. Remember, if you can simplify, simplify. Go as low as you can go. Now I have a couple more over here. And I have m to the negative 3. Same thing happens. It simply goes underneath my fraction. Same thing here with 9. 1 over 9 to the 4th. Notice how the negative sign disappeared? I do know what 9 to the 4th power is, and that is going to be a rather big number, but I still know what it is. It's 6,561. So I'm keeping on reducing as far as I can, making sure I never, never, never have a negative exponent. Alrighty, we got some problems to try out. We have about 6 of them here. I'm going to do 3 of them with you. Oh, there's 7 of them. I'm going to do 3 of them with you, and you're going to do the other ones. I'm going to pick the 3 that I think are the hardest, and I'm going to make you do the other ones. Alrighty, remember that simplifying means no zero exponents and no negative exponents. I'm going to start with the first one, a. So this one I have both a negative exponent and regular exponents. What do? That means I only move the negative exponent. So I have 5a to the third, which stays the same, and I'm going to multiply it by 1 over b squared. Now I can leave it like this, but it's still not as pretty as it can be. So I simply pop the 5 to the third, 5 times a to the third over b squared. And that is my reduced simplified answer. Now let's say we take a look at f, because you guys probably are thinking, oh, there's a lot of numbers there, it looks ugly. So we're going to do it together. Now remember that if I have a 0, I just get rid of it because it's 1, it disappears. So I cross it off there, it's gone. Now all I need to do is work with my negatives. Remember that if I have a negative, it flips to the other side. So I'm going to work with these one by one. I have m to the third. She stays the same because she's not negative. So she stays on top. Doesn't move. Nothing happens. That's as simple as she can be. So now I look at my m to the negative 2. Negative 2 tells me gotta move to the bottom. So I write n to the second. Notice how I got rid of my negative sign there. That's super important. Okay, I got rid of 1, 2 on the top. Now I just gotta look at the bottom. Now I have 2 to the negative third. I move it to the opposite side. So I put my 2 to the third up here. Cool beans. That one's gone. Now I have p squared. That stays on the bottom. It's not negative, it stays where it is. Doesn't change. No moving. That's gone. Now I have q to the negative fifth. That one I move to the top because it was negative. Negative means I move it. And then I take away the negative sign. Now this still isn't as simple as possible because I have that 2 to the third. I know what 2 to the third is. I can do that. So 2 times 2 times 2 gives me 8. So I'm going to rewrite that, and it's common to write the number, or coefficient is what it's called, in front. And then I'm just going to write everything down as it is because I already took care of it. Now I'm going to do one more. I'm going to leave you that other ugly one that you think is ugly, but it's really not that ugly. And we are going to do D. D isn't too bad. I just have a negative exponent on the top. It's 3 to the negative second power. So I move that to the bottom. I leave a 1 on top. It doesn't mean that it's not a fraction anymore. It still stays there, but it just becomes a 1. It's kind of like a placeholder. And then 3 to the second times a. A stays on the bottom because it has no negative exponent. And then I know what 3 squared is. It's 9. So I simplify it to get my final answer. Alrighty, you guys need to do the other 4 problems.